Presenting the proposal to her superiors required careful orchestration. Sayaka prepared comprehensive analyses comparing their current vendors' services with alternatives available in the market. She documented areas where costs could be reduced and quality potentially improved through strategic vendor changes. The presentation was masterful in its objectivity, every recommendation supported by data, every conclusion justified by sound business logic. Her superiors approved the proposal with the enthusiasm reserved for initiatives that promised immediate cost savings without obvious risks. The vendor reduction plan was implemented over a 3-month period, gradually shifting business to alternative suppliers, while providing James's company with the minimum notice required by their contract terms. The impact was immediate and devastating. James's company lost not only the revenue from Sayaka's organization, but also the referential value of their largest client relationship. Other customers began questioning the company's stability, leading to additional contract cancellations, and a downward spiral that accelerated with each lost account. James himself became a particular casualty of this decline. As the sales representative who had managed the lost account, he bore direct responsibility for the revenue shortfall. His commission structure meant that the financial impact hit his personal income immediately, while his professional reputation suffered from association with what appeared to be a significant failure in client relationship management. Sayaka watched these developments unfold with the satisfaction of someone observing a complex mechanism operate exactly as designed. The beauty of her approach lay in its complete legitimacy. Every action she had taken was not only legal but professionally justifiable. She had harmed James's career and financial stability, without creating any vulnerability to retaliation or exposure. But as she would explain to me much later, this initial success was merely the foundation for a more comprehensive form of justice. While James's professional world crumbled, Sayaka continued her research into the personal life he had chosen over their relationship. Emma, the 29-year-old who had captured his attention so completely, proved to be a subject worthy of careful investigation. Sayaka approached this research with the same methodical precision she applied to professional projects, using social media, professional networks, and casual inquiries to construct a comprehensive picture of Emma's circumstances. The discovery that emerged from this investigation was the kind that transforms understanding so completely that previous assumptions must be entirely reconsidered. Emma was not the unattached young woman she appeared to be. Public records revealed that she had married 3 years earlier, though her husband's work had taken him overseas on an extended assignment that was scheduled to continue for several more months. This revelation recontextualized everything about James's relationship with Emma. What he believed to be a committed courtship was actually an extramarital affair, and Emma's willingness to discuss marriage with him suggested either deliberate deception or a level of compartmentalization that bordered on pathological. Sayaka spent several weeks verifying this information, using professional databases, and carefully placed inquiries to confirm details about Emma's marriage and her husband's current location. The husband worked for an international engineering firm and was stationed in Southeast Asia, managing infrastructure projects that required his presence for extended periods. His social media profiles showed no awareness of any problems in his marriage, and his posts suggested he was planning his return to Japan, with the enthusiasm of someone anticipating reunion with a faithful wife. Armed with this information, Sayaka faced a choice that would define not only her relationship with James, but her understanding of her own capacity for strategic cruelty. She could use what she had learned to expose Emma's deception, destroying James's second chance at happiness, while simultaneously protecting Emma's unsuspecting husband from continued betrayal. The decision, when she made it, felt less like choosing revenge, and more like accepting responsibility for ensuring that truth received proper recognition. She prepared 2 carefully crafted communications, one to James's Human Resources Department, documenting his involvement in an extramarital affair with a client representative, and another to Emma's husband, providing evidence of his wife's infidelity during his absence. Both messages were sent anonymously, with supporting documentation that was comprehensive enough to be convincing, but not so detailed as to reveal the source of the information. Sayaka had learned from her previous success that the most effective interventions were those that appeared to originate from coincidence rather than calculation. The consequences unfolded with the same inexorable logic that had characterized the destruction of James's business relationships. His company, already struggling financially, could not afford the scandal of an employee's extramarital affair with a client representative. The Human Resources investigation concluded with James's termination for violating professional conduct policies, effectively ending both his current employment and his prospects for finding similar work in their relatively small industry. Emma's situation proved even more dramatic. Her husband returned from his overseas assignment earlier than planned, confronting her with evidence of the affair and demanding immediate divorce. The marriage that had provided the foundation for her deception collapsed within weeks, leaving her to face not only the loss of her husband, but also the professional complications that resulted from her involvement with James. By the time Sayaka finished explaining these events to me in that quiet cafe in Okayama, the afternoon light had shifted, casting longer shadows across our table and giving the entire conversation a sense of approaching culmination. She had orchestrated James's complete, professional and personal destruction with a precision that bordered on artistic, using nothing more than careful timing and strategic deployment of truth. But as she sipped her coffee and watched my reaction to her story, I sensed that this tale was not yet complete. There was something in her expression, a mixture of satisfaction and uncertainty that suggested the consequences of her actions had extended beyond what she had initially planned or anticipated. "The most interesting part," she said, her voice carrying a note that I couldn't quite identify, "happened just last month." She paused, seeming to consider how much additional detail the story required, and I realized that what I had heard so far was merely the preface to whatever revelation she was preparing to share. The systematic destruction of James's career and personal life, comprehensive as it had been, was apparently not the conclusion of their story, but rather the necessary preparation for whatever came next. James had contacted her, she explained, after months of unemployment, failed job interviews, and the gradual erosion of his financial resources. He had reached out to the woman whose life he had disrupted so casually 3 years earlier. The communication had come in the form of a phone call, made late at night, when desperation had overcome whatever pride had previously prevented him from acknowledging the full consequences of his choices. The conversation, as Sayaka described it, had possessed the surreal quality of a meeting between former enemies who discover they are the only people who fully understand each other's motivations. James had apologized with the thoroughness of someone who had finally grasped the magnitude of his errors, accepting responsibility not only for the betrayal of their relationship, but for the selfishness that had characterized his pursuit of what he had believed would be a better life with Emma. More significantly, he had asked for help. At 41, with a damaged reputation and no current employment, James found himself in the position of having to rebuild his entire professional existence. The industry they both worked in was small enough that his scandal had become widely known, making traditional job searching nearly impossible.